Well, hey guys, welcome back to another episode of RHWoodshop. Today's kind of special because it's a collaboration between me and NV Woodwerks, Zac Higgins. So today, using the mold that I had him make, we're going to make some epoxy crosses.
Hey, this is Zac over at nvwoodwerks.com, and I'm a boomer. Boom! First step is you need to make a master, and I had to make a cross. I decided to go for MDF. It was easy to work with, cheap, and smooth. So I decided to go with half-lap joinery to join the two legs together. And afterwards I came back with Timbermate to fill any little gaps. You want the master to be pretty much perfect. So I was going for very smooth, and I didn't want to have any gaps where when you take the epoxy crosses out, they're going to have little weird holes in them. So after that was done, I sanded the whole thing up to 1000 grit and then hit it with a little bit of paste wax just to ensure that the silicone didn't want to stick to the MDF. I've never tried MDF before, so I decided a little bit of paste wax is probably not a bad idea. In the end, it popped out of the silicone just fine. Alright, so once the cross was made, then it was just a matter of making an enclosure to hold the silicone when I poured it over to mold the cross. I used corrugated plastic for this, and it worked pretty well. I just used a hot glue gun and started assembling the pieces around the cross. I didn't go for a square box because that would have made a huge mold, and it would have been a tremendous waste of silicone. So I was trying to kind of come pretty close to the edges of the actual cross so that I didn't end up wasting just a ton of silicone. Alright, so once the enclosure was done, then it was just a matter of gluing the cross down so it didn't float or you didn't get any silicone underneath it, and pull out the silicone. Now I used Mold Max 30 from Smooth On for this project, and it's a pretty general purpose but durable silicone. Pretty easy to work with for the most part. It's just adding part A and part B. I believe it's 10-to-1 in this specific product, but I will say that it is kind of difficult to mix this stuff up. It's pretty much the consistency of taffy. So I just pulled out a big screwdriver and just kept churning away at it until the red part B finally kind of mixed together with the part A, and it turned out kind of pink colored. Once I had it all mixed up, then I just put it in the vacuum chamber to degas it. This is kind of a crucial step if you are going to be making a mold that you will be putting in a pressure pot, casting the resin under pressure. If you do that and you have air bubbles in your mold, then they're going to collapse within the silicone and you're going to kind of screw up your casting. After degassing, I pulled out the silicone, and it was just a matter of pouring it into the enclosure over the cross. Pretty simple. You want to kind of shoot for the low areas in the mold and let the silicone kind of rise up so you don't get too much air trapped in there. Now, you've already pulled it out of the silicone, but you want to kind of get it so that the air is pushed away rather than trapped. Once the silicone had cured up, which in this case for the Mold Max, it was 24 hours, then it was just a matter of liberating that mold from the enclosure and then pulling the cross out. So I had a little difficulty. It took a little while to get those walls all taken off. They're all hot glued. I took out a knife and just was scoring along the glue lines and just ripping it apart as good as I could. Once that was done, flipped it over, popped the bottom off, and then it was just a matter of popping out that master cross. Once I popped that cross out, I just inspected the mold and looked on the inside, and everything came out really great. So I was a little bit anxious to see how it worked out. This was definitely the biggest mold I'd ever poured, and it worked out great. Now, afterwards, there was a little bit of flashing that I took off with just an X-Acto knife, and at that point, it was done. It was ready to be cast in, and so I boxed it up and sent it over to Drew.
Hey Drew, can't wait to see the crosses made with this mold. I hope it works great for you. Thanks again for letting me help out with this project. I had a blast working on the mold. Zac, I'm here to tell you, dude, this thing looks freaking awesome. I think it'll work great. Now, what makes this project a little special is because my wife's side of the family had a friend that lost their business to a tragic fire. And as you can see from the pictures, it was a pretty devastating fire. And when they went to salvage everything, the only thing that they could find was this small bit of wood. And since I cannot use it for anything, I'm going to turn it into something special. Now to get started, I need some ash that I'm going to mix in the epoxy mold. So I'm basically just going to take a sledge and just kind of break up some of this weakened wood. Okay, now what you're going to need for this are the 2 parts epoxy from Alumilite, some kind of a plastic or paper backing so you don't spill any on your tables, and last but not least, a mold. Now to begin, we're just going to take part A and fill up a cup with it. And we've also done the same thing with part B. So we're just going to take equal parts of part A, fill it up about 1/4 of the way. Same thing with part B. And now, just mix it around. Now we're just going to pour that in. Now here comes the fun part. Time to mix in the ash. Okay, I've got to admit something to y'all. I ran into a little bit of a snag with this first pour. Now, since I put the 2 bits of epoxy, part A and part B, into 2 separate cups, it did not get mixed the correct way, and the epoxy did not cure at all. As you can see from the pictures, this was 5 days of setting up with no curing. So now, I'm going to take the epoxy, put it in 1 cup, stir it pretty thoroughly, not vigorously because I don't want air bubbles, and then I'll pour it into the mold. So now that I got that figured out, let's have some fun. If you guys are curious what I was jamming to in my shop, a company by the name of Meze headphones contacted me and asked if I would be willing to try out a new product that they were going to be debuting fairly soon. So after a little bit of homework, I decided to say yes. And what they sent me is this. Now the craftsmanship in these earbuds are nothing short of outstanding. Not only that, but it has a little switch right here in the middle of the cable that allows you to pause your songs, and it has a microphone that you can answer phone calls with through your iPhone or any other mobile device that you are using. So I urge you guys to go to Meze headphones right now. They're a Romanian-based company, so the only thing that you really have to be patient about is the shipping time. I want to thank Meze headphones for sending me this set. I thoroughly will enjoy this in my shop and anywhere else that I go. They're very comfortable to wear for long periods of time, and I am very, very happy with them. So thank you, Meze. Now, I've done quite a few things in my lifetime, but making these epoxy crosses has been a first. This is really the only time that I have done a poured mold epoxy pour. And let me tell you, putting these fancy little things in here like the square-headed nails, the ash that made it just that much more special for the reason behind all of this, it just got to be more and more fun. So I really plan on banging out a few more with a couple of my wife's ideas as well. But on another note, I really want to thank Zac Higgins over at NV Woodwerks for taking a significant amount of time to make this mold for me and doing the collaboration for another. So thank you very much, Zac, and I will be anxious and willing to do more collaborations with you in the future. So if you have another idea, hit me up. So guys, that about wraps it up for the RHWoodshop Woodshop and a collaboration with NV Woodwerks. I want to thank you very much for tuning in. If you have any tips, comments, or suggestions, drop them down below, and I will see you on the next build or pour. Boom!